our next story. I'm sure you've probably heard by now that Donald Trump did turn himself in. And this is in reference to the indictment of Donald Trump taking classified documents to Mar-a-Lago. So he did turn himself in. He has pled not guilty. But I've noticed something, and we're going to talk about a little bit of hypocrisy here. Some people didn't even want to cover his response. And this is not to say that Donald Trump is innocent by any means whatsoever. But it is to show you how even mainstream media, they're still trying to shape the narrative so that the people won't see things for what they actually are. And there's no one better to do that than Rachel Maddow. So here's Rachel Maddow giving excuses for why she decided not to air Donald Trump's statement. Here we go.
I need to say that former President Trump has just started making public remarks, just as he did on the evening of his first arraignment on criminal charges. That was April, when he was booked on 34 felony counts brought by the state of New York. Now, tonight, after his arraignment on federal felony charges, he's speaking again, this time to an audience of his supporters that's gathered for a campaign fundraiser tonight at his golf club and summer home in New Jersey. We knew heading into this that he was planning to make these remarks. We are prepared for his pre-fundraiser remarks tonight to again be essentially a Trump campaign speech. Because of that, we do not intend to carry these remarks live. As we have said before in these circumstances, there is a cost to us as a news organization to knowingly broadcast untrue things. We are here to bring you the news.
To broadcast true things. Let's hear this part again.
Live. As we have said before in these circumstances, there is a cost to us as a news organization to knowingly broadcast untrue things. We are here to bring you the news.
So the same network and the same woman that preached about Russiagate for years, which was debunked, by the way. I still don't think she's issued any type of apology in reference to that. The same woman who was able to argue that it's okay for her to skew the facts because she's not news, she's infotainment. Now, all of a sudden, she's the news and she cares about telling the truth. You know, this is bullshit, right? You guys know that this is ridiculous. This has nothing to do with this could possibly be a Trump campaign speech. It has everything to do with this is censorship. And you don't have to agree with Donald Trump. You don't even have to want to hear what he has to say. But for her and MSNBC to choose, to purposely choose to not air it, what does that tell you about them? Now, all of a sudden, she's news.
Hurts our ability to do that if we live broadcast what we fully expect in advance to be a litany of lies and false accusations, no matter who says them. And I do not say this with any glee. I hope it is clear that this is not a glib decision. We take our responsibilities seriously. We revisit decisions like this all the time. We make the best call that we can in real time, every time. But tonight, our call is this. We will monitor that speech by the newly indicted former president. We will not carry his remarks live. If he says anything newsworthy, we promise we will turn that right around and bring it back to you.
All this does is help Trump, actually. That doesn't hurt Trump. That helps Trump because people will see him as, oh my God, they're shutting him out. They're blocking him out. That's not going to hurt him. That is helping him. So again, this just goes to show you how the media shapes the narrative. This is Rachel Maddow. Now she's news and truth. Well, I am going to play part of the statement, okay? Because I'm not Rachel Maddow and I'm not on corporate media. So I am going to play part of the statement. So here is part of Donald Trump's statement. I want you to hear what he has to say. And then I'm going to tell you about some of the hypocrisy I've noticed in reference to these classified documents and Miss Hillary Clinton.
Fundraiser remarks tonight to again be essentially a Trump campaign speech. Because of that, we do not.
Sorry, she came back. I'm sorry about that, guys. Listen to this.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. It's a great honor to have you here. And today we witness the most evil and heinous abuse of power in the history of our country. Very sad thing to watch. A corrupt sitting president had his top political opponent arrested on fake and fabricated charges of which he and numerous other presidents would be guilty, right in the middle of a presidential election in which he is losing very badly. This is called election interference and yet another attempt to rig and steal a presidential election. More importantly, it's a political persecution like something straight out of a fascist or a communist nation. This day will go down in infamy, and Joe Biden will forever be remembered as not only the most corrupt president in the history of our country, but perhaps even more importantly, the president who, together with a band of his closest thugs, misfits, and Marxists, tried to destroy American democracy.
First of all, the Marxists, I don't know why there's that noise in the background. That's weird. But this whole thing here about the Marxist, what Marxist? Biden's not hanging with Marxists. Trust. I think I wish Joe Biden was hanging out with Marxists, okay? He could learn a thing or two. He could learn. Social Dems are not Marxists. Let's clear that up. But one of the things that I want to add here is, again, the timing, right? Would this happen right now if Donald Trump was not running for president again? I don't think it would. I don't think they would have pushed it as quickly as well either. This is just another way for them to prevent him from participating in the 2024 election. This is not to say what he did wasn't wrong. But you have to question the timing. And then you also have to ask yourself, where was all of this in reference to Hillary Clinton and her emails? Where's the comparison here? Where's the accountability? Because technically, Hillary Clinton choosing to open work emails on a computer, laptop, device, cell phone, whatever she was using, that was her personal device. Technically, can't you make that same comparison with Donald Trump taking classified documents to another location? What's the difference? And if I'm thinking about this in the way that, in the interest of security, technically, what Hillary did could be seen as even more dangerous because she opened those emails with the server. Thank you. Thank you. What's your name? Gibril. Thank you. The server. Technically, what Hillary did could not be seen as actually more dangerous because of the fact that there is the potential there for someone to access that information. Some people like to call them hackers. Isn't that even more scary? All it would take is for someone to just go right in and access that information and steal that information. But there's none of this for Hillary Clinton. Where's the push to prosecute Hillary Clinton? Where's the indictment for Hillary Clinton? And this is something that I've noticed for quite some time. The Clintons, I think, know some powerful people. Let me tell you why I think that. Bill Clinton connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Nothing done there. Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. The fact that the president can sit there and have an affair with an intern at the White House. And there's more to that, which I found out from watching that series. Not even that, but even asking Monica Lewinsky to lie on the paperwork that she received. which basically told her to asking her if she ever had, a sexual relationship with the president or whatever. She lied to protect him and because he encouraged her to do so. This is the piece I think a lot of people don't know. I didn't know this until recently. I didn't know that piece about it. But yet, yes, he was impeached by the House, but the Senate decided not to remove him from office. So I've been saying this for quite some time. I think the Clintons know some very powerful people, and it seems like they'll never be held accountable no matter what they do. But if you're going to hold Donald Trump accountable for classified documents, then you also need to hold Hillary Clinton accountable and Joe Biden accountable. I'm just here to call out the hypocrisy.
But they will fail and we will win bigger and better than ever before. Charging a former president of the United States under the Espionage Act of 1917 wasn't meant for this. An act for a crime so heinous that only the death penalty would do, and threatening me with 400 years in prison for possessing my own presidential papers, which just about every other president has done, is one of the most outrageous and vicious legal theories ever put forward in an American court of law. The Espionage Act has been used to go after traitors and spies. It has nothing to do with a former president legally keeping his own documents. As president, the law that applies to this case is not the Espionage Act, but very simply the Presidential Records Act, which is not even mentioned in this ridiculous 44-page indictment. Under the Presidential Records Act, which is civil, not criminal, I had every right to have these documents. The crucial legal precedent is laid out in the most important case ever on this subject, known as the Clinton Socks case.
I don't think it was a matter of fact of whether or not he had the right to have access to the documents, but more so the fact that he took those documents to another location. I have to brush up on that, but I think it's more so that he took them somewhere else. But
you know what that means? After leaving the White House, Bill Clinton kept 79 audio tapes in his sock drawer. They included discussions of U.S. military involvement in Haiti, discussions of U.S. foreign policy, both defense and offense, against Cuba, recordings of President Clinton's conversations with all of the many foreign leaders at the time. Think of that. Sensitive facts about trade negotiations taken from presidential briefings, discussions with the Secretary of State about conflict in Bosnia, and much, much more. Very big stuff.
But the Clintons are not held accountable. I want you to think about something for a minute. Imagine if Donald Trump did what Bill Clinton did. Imagine if it was Donald Trump and Monica Lewinsky. Think about that for a second. But they were like, no, we got to give Bill a pass. And, just the way that things went with them, it just drives me crazy. The fact that Hillary Clinton was pretty much hand selected for the Senate. Hand selected. The other competitors never had a chance. Boom. Monahan is going to step down and we can think of no one else but for you to come in and fill this seat. You see what I mean? So this is why I feel like they've known some powerful people.
Not only was Bill Clinton never even considered for criminal prosecution based on the tapes he took, but when he was sued for them, he won the case.
There you
Judge
go.
Amy Berman Jackson's decision states, under the statutory scheme established by the Presidential Records Act, the decision to segregate personal materials from presidential records is made by the president during the president's term and in the president's sole discretion. You're surprised to hear that, aren't you? Any normal administration, even an opposing one, would consider that to be the end, but not the corrupt Biden administration. The SOX decision, as it's known, also states, quote, the National Archives and Records Administration, or NARA, does not have the authority to designate material as presidential records. They don't have the authority. NARA does not have the tapes in question, and NARA lacks any right, duty, or means to seize control of them. This is law. The president enjoys unconstrained authority to make decisions regarding the disposal of documents. That's unconstrained to make that decision. Neither the archivist nor Congress has the authority to veto the president's decision. The Presidential Records Act does not confer any mandatory or even discretionary authority on the archivist to classify records. Under the statute, this responsibility is left solely to the President of the United States. Think of that. That's the decision. Think of that. Now, just think of that. In other words, whatever documents the president decides to take with him, he has the right to do so. It's an absolute right. This is the law. And that is something that people have now seen, and it couldn't be more clear. They ought to drop this case immediately because they're destroying the country. And this is why no other president, even those who kept far more documents than I, has ever been even investigated, let alone charged with a crime.
Yeah. There's a lot of hypocrisy. And it just, I mean, I think it's obvious to most of us what is really going on here and what this is really all about. But here we are. I'll play a little bit more and then I'll go to the comments.
Because the sham indictment put forward by the Biden administration included staged photographs of boxes at Mar-a-Lago, many people have asked me why I had these boxes. Why did you want them? The answer, in addition to having every right under the Presidential Records Act, is that these boxes were containing all types of personal belongings, many, many things, shirts and shoes and everything. As can be seen in the picture where someone, not me, I wonder who it might have been, dumped one of the very neatly arranged boxes all over the floor. They were full of newspapers, press clippings, thousands of pictures, thousands and thousands of White House pictures. The White House photographers, some are with us today. They took so many pictures and we saved all of them, and they were in those boxes. Clothing, memorabilia, and much, much more. I hadn't had a chance to go through all the boxes. It's a long, tedious job, takes a long time, which I was prepared to do, but I have a very busy life. I've had a very busy life. They make it more busy because you're always fighting.
So there apparently were other items in those boxes. I think it's important for people to know that. And then also to the point that he feels like he's always fighting, we got to think about something. You know, it's one thing after another. And this is not to say that Trump is not guilty in these things, but it's when you're constantly coming after someone for something, it starts to make them look less guilty, and it starts to make you look a little suspect. Like, why are you trying to just get them on something, on anything? If it wasn't Russiagate, you know, it was Stormy Daniels. If it wasn't Stormy Daniels, it was, you know, what happened in January. You have to be careful I say that on here. If it's not that, then now it's, you know, it's the business dealings. If it wasn't the business dealings in the state of New York, now it's the classified documents. And so this is why if Trump says it's a witch hunt, in a sense, that kind of proves him to look like he's right. It's just one thing after another. So that to me is just a little, it looks obsessive. Okay. It looks a little obsessive. Oh, we couldn't get him on this thing. What are we going to get him now? Let's try to get him on this thing. What are we going to do? Get him on now. It's just, I'm sorry, but it's a little odd after a while.
And under the Sox decision, there seemed to be no rush. I wasn't in a rush because that decision was law. The other picture that was so vile, you remember that one? It was angry and corrupt, was the photo staged by the FBI. And those that raided Mar-a-Lago, they were putting documents all over the floor. Remember that famous picture? All over, said confidential, said presidential, said all sorts of things. And it was supposed to be there like it was that way when they raided. It wasn't that way. They put them there, took the picture, and released it illegally to the press. They took my medical records, my passport, my birth certificate, and apologized. They even brought a safecracker. This is a professional safecracker they brought into Mar-a-Lago. And they broke into my safe, and you know what they found? Nothing. There was nothing there. Nothing there. Like zero. According to the Presidential Records Act, which was a big deal, I was supposed to negotiate with NARA, which is exactly what I was doing until Mar-a-Lago was raided by gun-toting FBI agents. I have security tapes of it. I gave them security tapes of everything. In a flagrant violation of the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, which protects the right against unreasonable search and seizure. And Sebastian, you covered very well, I must say. Very well. I'm not the one who thinks I'm above the law. I'm the one that followed the law. I'm the only one. It's Joe Biden and his corrupt Department of Injustice who think they are above the law. Never before have the two standards of justice in our country been more starkly revealed. Joe Biden had troves of classified documents from his time as vice president and even as a senator, which was completely and totally illegal. In fact, other senators heard about it.
See, this is the hypocrisy.
Durbin heard about it. You have to see his response. There's no way that's totally illegal. Took him as a senator out of a skiff. They were shocked when they found out. They actually thought it was impossible to do. Biden sent 1,850 boxes to the University of Delaware, making the search very, very difficult for anybody. And he refuses to give them up, and he refuses to let people even look at them. And then they say how he's behaving so nicely. Many of Biden's classified documents were in Chinatown, D.C., Chinatown, which is shocking considering his family receives so much money from China. I wonder how many times the friends of ours from China review those documents. Chinatown, D.C. Others were unsecured at his so-called Penn Biden Center in Washington, which paid Biden approximately $1 million a year. The money supposedly coming from China, and still other classified documents were strewn all over his garage floor, where his now famous Corvette is stored. He's so proud of that car. There was no...
This is a good point. Eric Gray says Trump is able to do this given the hypocrisy and the hubris on the part of the Democrats. Yeah, I mean, it just, there is hypocrisy. I'm not going to play the entire video. It's long. It's a little over like 30 minutes. But it's breaking news. Trump's mercilessly unleashes on Biden in speech following arraignment in federal court. But yeah. I mean, there's a lot of hypocrisy, man. A lot. Thank you for the super chat, Eric. Any plans to have Phil Scott on the show? I would imagine that you two would have a very interesting and thoughtful conversation. If I had the contact info, I would. If you know his contact info, let me know. Most of the time, I can't find contact info for people. Thank you for the super chat, Darren. Rachel Maddow once said Fox News founder Roger Ailes was her mentor and good friend. It's all you need to know. Ha! Oh man. Thank you for this as well, Darren. Sabby looks great tonight. Oh, thank you. I actually did not. I was a little iffy because like I didn't flat iron my hair today because I would have normally, but I didn't flat iron my hair because I got that trip and I'm just like, I was so busy today and I was like, I don't know about this. My hair's a little frizzy. It is what it is. Roger says Vince Foster Sabby. Yes, Vince Foster was another one. If you're not aware, he ended his life, and apparently there are doubts and suspicions about that as well. He worked in the White House during Bill Clinton's, that's his second term. I believe that was his second term. He worked in the White House for like 6 months, I think, into Bill Clinton's administration. And then he ended his life. And there have been suspicions about that as well. It's like, what do you mean? They just kind of came out of nowhere. Linda Tripp actually was the last one to see him alive. I'm telling you, there's so much that goes into this. Thank you for the super chat, Mary. You're right, Sabby. He's a folk hero now. This is how people are going to look at it. And thank you, Lorez. Bill Clinton kept tapes. He won the case. See socks. Yeah, I'm telling you. But see, this is why Rachel Maddow, MSNBC, this is why they didn't want to air that speech, because they knew, I don't even think about the campaign part. They knew that Donald Trump was probably going to reveal things about Joe Biden and the Clintons. And I think that's why they didn't want to air that speech. They didn't want their audience to hear that. I'll take the comment on Rockfin, Eric. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Roger. Remember, the NAACP tried to get in the way of reparations in California. Also, the NAACP and the Hispanic Federation actually filed an amicus brief on behalf of soda companies in New York, in which they argued that a soda tax is discriminatory towards residents and small businesses, owners in Black and Hispanic communities. They took the bag from Coca-Cola to keep our community hopped up on sugar. Yeah. It is not the NAACP that your grandparents know about. Not the same.